So it's time for another gardening week, and I'm just fitting these little coat hooks to the beds. I really like these. They're chromed, they don't rust, they're super smooth, so when you wrap your bungee cords around them, there's no danger of them getting snagged or anything like that. And also, you know, they're just good for humans as well, because we don't snag ourselves on them either. And you can just wind them round like that, and gives you a nice secure fastening. Well, it's chilly outside today. It'll be warm enough once I get moving. I am planting today. I love planting, it's one of my favourite activities. But first I've got to get some beds cleared. Got loads of stuff to put in. I've got loads of cauliflowers and calabrese and stuff to get planted, and loads of lettuces, salad onions and Asian greens. So yeah, let's take a look outside at what we've got to do. So first up, I've got to get some beds cleared. Got that manky lettuce bed. I've got that equally manky lettuce bed. I mean, they're not as bad as they look. I have just harvested them yesterday, so all the nice healthy plants have gone. And I'm planting in the gaps between these rows of carrots, which I've topped. And the carrots will regrow, but not fast enough to outcompete the lettuces. So that's going to be nice. And then down there, at that end, I've got some radishes to go in. And yeah, that's it for today. Not too bad. So the first bed that I'm going to do is going to be cauliflowers. It was lettuces, and so all these lettuces are finished now. So just twisting them out. I don't need to put any new compost down because I composted these in autumn before I did the lettuces, so this is going to be a quick one. So I just like to ruffle the surface up so we don't get any mould growth, algae growth really, and it just helps me find any slugs or any weeds. And also just see, you know, how moist the soil is. I think I might have to give this a bit of a water. I'm just finding a few more weeds there. But that's all I need to do. So that's all nicely prepared. Just got to div 4 holes now, and yeah, get those cauliflowers in. So the cauliflowers are in these 11 centimetre pots, so I'm just using these spare ones. Just make a bit of a hole, just firm that round, and then I can just drop them in to the hole like that. These are the cauliflowers that are going in. There's a mix of the purple graffiti ones and the white orchid ones. I think there's 3 of each in there. So that's not a bad specimen. A little bit smaller than they were last year at this time of year. But we did have a very gloomy October. And the grace really is on now with these cauliflowers, because this bed as primary harvest is going to be peppers, and they need to go in by the end of May. So these cauliflowers need to be all harvested, obviously, before the end of May, and that's why it's important to get them in now, because it's amazing how quickly they start to grow once you've got them in the ground. And then once we've got the peppers out of the ground, we generally put lettuce or spinach back in these beds. I have in the past also put radish in here. What I find is the cauliflowers outgrow the radish, and the radish don't have time to mature before the cauliflowers are sort of shading them out. So yeah, I'm just putting cauliflowers in. It is sometimes possible to get a fifth one in the middle. I just don't have enough this year to do that. So I'll give them a bit more space. You just get 4 bigger ones rather than 5 slightly smaller ones. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. They should do fine now. And somebody did say in the comments that they never see me watering, so it's especially for you. There we go, I'm just settling them in with a bit of water. I don't want to over saturate the ground. There we go, that'll do. And then we'll close that up. They should be happy in there. So next up, I'm clearing this bed for Asian greens. And I've got already some little kales in here. I think I'm going to leave the little kales in just because I'm a little bit short of kale this year, and I just want to see how the two share the bed. I'll probably have to keep the well on top of harvesting the kales so they don't get too big, but yeah, well, it'll be, as always, an interesting experiment. We did lose a few of these lettuces to the cold weather, so I'm not too sad to be clearing and replanting this bed. Sometimes when I'm clearing a bed I feel kind of quite bad, really, you know, to be taking productive crops out, but not so much right now. So that's all cleaned up, and again, this bed is very dry. I don't generally water in sort of from middle of November onwards, so yeah, really going to benefit from a bit of watering. I'm also going to water these kales because they're a bit dry too. So I'll just get some holes dibbed. I think I'll do 5 to a row. I'll do a double row in the middle. So just one of these plants in the middle of this tray here has got green fly. You can see on that leaf. None of the others, just that one. It's weird. I'll just settle these in. You know, I'd hoped for slightly higher quality plants, to be honest, that they're not brilliant, these. I'm sowing another batch later on this month anyway, so I'm not massively concerned, but you know, just I kind of pride myself on growing healthy seedlings, and these are just a little bit weak. I'll just settle these in with a little bit of water. You know, healthy seedlings are important all year round, but they're especially important at times like this. You know, you really want them to be strong and get off to a really good start so early in the year. You also don't want them flopping over. Well, that certainly looks a lot better than it did, and I'm going to have a good search around all the seedlings at home now to make sure there's no evidence of green fly on any of those. So I've got a lot of dibbing to do in here. I'm only going to do 4 plants per row in here though, because of the potential for competition between the carrots and the lettuces. I might, I don't know yet. I've got to figure out where to plant the salad onions. So yeah, bear with me on that one. So that's looking nice and neat. I just popped a stepping stone in as well down there, and it's the radish at the end there at higher density. I had to take out a few carrots to make room for the stepping stone. And these are very much a bonus crop of lettuces. I put the most important ones at this end because it gets more light. Trying to be a bit careful with the way I get them out because they're quite delicate. These are Navara, these are my favourite. The only thing with Navara, they're a bit prone to downy mildew on the underside of the leaves. It's always a bit of a risk planting them this early, but they're such a great lettuce that, well, you know, I'm prepared to take a risk. If they do get downy mildew, you just have to take off all the affected leaves and hope that all the new growth is free. The thing is with downy mildew, it tends to only occur, it's a bit like blight I suppose, only occurs in very specific circumstances. So, you know, a specific range of temperature and humidity for a certain period of time. And as a result, what you often find is only a few leaves get affected and then the rest are fine. And in a bit of a freak mishap, these lettuces were put on the trestle table just after I'd sprayed it with Algon to kill the algae on it because it had been stored outside, and the fumes from the Algon killed some of the lettuces on the outer edge of the tray, or damaged the leaves on some of them. So these lettuces had been looking really beautiful, and then I managed to undo that. But I'm hoping they'll grow through it. They should do. The inner leaves all seem fine. It's just a few of the outer leaves that have been damaged. And then finally, just got that nice little tray of radish here. And we'll see if we can get these in. Hopefully you're getting the message that planting at this time of year, it's not always that reliable. I mean, admittedly, you know, the Algon mistake is probably not something that's going to affect anybody else, but just slightly weak plants, slightly leggy plants, going into cold ground, not going to enjoy very high light levels and all that. So why bother? And it's kind of partly resilience in that weeks matter when you're self-sufficient. If you can get a harvest, you know, a few weeks earlier, it means you can, you know, you're safeguarding your food supply for those few weeks. If they don't get well established, what have you lost? You know, you can replant them from plants that you start in mid-February, and well, you haven't really lost very much. You've lost a tray of compost and a few seeds, which is about 50p or something in total. So I love it, doing, and obviously I like planting, so I get to do a bit of this, do a bit of experimenting, see what works, see what doesn't, and because I show all my successes and failures, you'll get to see what works and what doesn't as well, and that's always nice. So yeah, it's an interesting thing, year-round gardening. You do have to be slightly more resilient to failure than if you only do main crops at the optimum time of year and all of that. But if you do that, obviously your opportunity for a rich diet is very greatly diminished, and your opportunity for a bit of fun is also diminished. Well, gardening fun anyway. So I'm really happy with all that. Well, not really happy, sort of moderately happy with all that. And we'll see how it goes. I was hoping for sunny weather this week, but it's going to be gloomy like it is today. Not ideal. Right, well, looking at the long-range weather forecast, this might be the last pleasant visit to the allotment for a few weeks. So I've cracked on. I've potted on all my little calabrese, so they'll be happy there now for another sort of 3 or 4 weeks until they're ready for the planting out where the spinach is. The Caraflex cabbages, potted those on. They'll be ready to plant out again in about 4 weeks where some of the lettuces are. And I've taken cuttings off my perennial kale plants. I've got 7 cuttings of those there. So that's everything. Oh, and taking the outer leaves off these 2 cabbages. Often when the outer leaves look okay, as soon as you take the next level set of leaves off, you find they're starting to rot. So it's important to sort of keep on top of removing leaves before they kind of rot through to the hearts. So I'm hopeful now that those will stay happy there until late February, which is when I need them. So let's take a look outside. So this little border is one of my favourite places on the allotment. I love it. It's so productive because it's got all these trees down here. We've got a cherry tree, a brilliant pear tree, a plum tree, which we've had like 6 plums off so far, but we're hopeful still. Always hopeful, aren't we, gardeners? And 2 apple trees, perennial kale plant, and a thornless blackberry, which I never seem to get any blackberries off, but we'll see. And then there's loads of flowers, like woodland flowers and things, all the way down here as well, which is really nice. But as you can see, it's a real mess. So it was a real mess. So I cleared it all up, cut it all back, mulched it with wood chip, and fed all the trees as well. So I'm really happy with the result of that. It's looking really good. What I do need to do though is do something about this wooden side because it's collapsing on me. So I'll see if I can get something done with that before I go. I've got some little stakes. So I'm going to put 2 sets of canes up here because I'm going to wrap fleece around these, a 1 metre high piece of fleece that's to be about up to there, and it'll be supported by those canes and sort of wrapped tight round here. And then in that little bed down there I'm going to put my early peas. So I'm hoping that that's going to be a solution for the early peas this year. Well, not the early peas because I've got loads of early peas back on at home in the greenhouse, but what we might think of as the first early peas. I've got super early peas in the greenhouse. And then down here I've put some raspberries, and the variety of these is all gold. So they look really nice. They're a late season one, so hopefully they'll be giving us fruits in autumn. And yeah, I gave the actual raspberry canes a good soak. That one there looked really dodgy. It had hardly any roots on it at all, but all the others look pretty good. So yeah, I'm fairly hopeful that they'll be quite nice. I just finished mulching all these blueberries and this little woodland area here where I've got my perennial bed of elephant garlic and three trees, an apple, a cherry and a pear. And then finally, last job of the week, I've put some, you can probably even see them on the camera, but some nice little onions, salad onions in there, in between those lettuces. I was wondering where I was going to put them in the end. That was my best bet. This bed's going to be carrots, but not until mid-May. So I think, yeah, plenty of time to clear those lettuce and get those salad onions out of this bed. So now I just need to make sure that all these beds are really tightly closed, because we're going to have one hell of a storm on Friday night. Yeah, I don't think that's going to go anywhere. Fingers crossed. Famous last words and all that. Well, we survived the storms. It was pretty bad, but no damage to my plot or Debbie's plot, but loads of damage to the site as a whole. And I'm full of cold and pleased to have got this harvest table done. So I'm just going to quickly talk you through it. Squash, Brussels, a bit raggedy some of those Brussels, but not too bad. These are the tough balls. They really need to be used now. I don't want to leave them much longer. They're not soft yet, but they'll start to go soft before February, or probably at the end of February rather. Still working my way through a few of the red onions that have started to sprout. Unfortunately, I mixed them all up, so I'm not sure which varieties are which, but we're still eating them. They're still fine. Actually, they're quite nice, these little sprouting bits. The shallots are still fine, and obviously the garlic's fine. And we've got loads and loads of red onions, so that are still in perfect condition. Beetroot from the ground. We haven't touched the beetroot in the store yet. Yacon, still pretty good, still nice and firm. And got loads of really good quality Yacon still to come. Potatoes, loads of potatoes. Starting to work our way through the last of the apples now, giving myself a bit of a treat. Carrots, loads of those. Tatsoi, looking lovely for the salad mixes. All down here we've got the brassicas. I did have to buy that Savoy cabbage. We ran out of Savoy cabbage last week, so that's a bit of a blow. But I like Savoy cabbage. I'm not really prepared to deprive myself of it, just because of the sort of pride of having grown everything myself. Yeah, lots of nice kale and leeks, plenty of those. A couple of smoothie boxes. And then everything else is for the salads. So lovely spinach, lovely minus lettuce, beet leaf greens, these beautiful bull's blood beet leaf greens, red stem pak choy, a bit more spinach, and all the lettuce bases. So I'll just make those up so you can see the final salads, and the tomatoes obviously now are from the supermarket as well. So there's a few things from the supermarket on the table, but not overly dependent on the supermarket, I would say, for this time of year. So there we go. My name's Steve. This is the Seaside Kitchen Garden and Allotment channel. I'll see you soon.